Right, folks, welcome back to MalaMala. Very happy to bring you another live feed, just a day after our last one. We are currently sitting with a Piccadilly female leopard, and she has killed an Impala and is just started feeding on it, so she must have killed this quite recently. I'm going to show you who's with us today at some point, but I think let's keep the camera on the leopard for now. But with us is Mike Kirkman on the comments, and then Nick Null, who's offered to help drive today, and then myself, Gareth. For those of you that might have missed yesterday, we were streaming a pack of Cape hunting dogs, or painted wolves, and we had a great drive. And it's nice to be able to show you a leopard that's not lying in the grass that you can barely see.
Alright, and hello to everyone. So Jonathan, that was first. Good day, Mia Ferreira, the choked rhinoceros. Samantha V. James Richard. And Bond James Bond. Let's see.
Welcome, Dizzy1369. Yeah, to all of those.
Alright, so we're not sure when she killed it, but we think it's probably certainly within the hour, maybe even within the last half hour. One of the guys was lucky enough to see the tracks of her where she pulled this Impala across the road, the drag marks, and followed her in here. But we're just opposite MalaMala main camp, maybe 500 meters east of the camp.
Just going to reposition a little bit.
So Earth Angel asking, is the Impala pregnant or just bloated? So the Impala all give birth in November, so she is just getting bloated now. All the gases and so on that are in her stomach are going to be building up and making her swell up like that. It's not that she's pregnant. And then someone asking, metallic clouds, are there any hyena nearby? Not yet. She made this kill, we think, sort of within the hour, but it's still relatively warm. It's just after 4 o'clock here, or it's around 4 o'clock, I think. So the hyenas haven't quite woken up yet. I think this Impala wasn't expecting a leopard right now as well. She probably just had a good opportunity and took it. But there are a lot of hyenas that live in this area, so it wouldn't surprise me if a hyena turns up. And then this morning we're actually following a young female leopard in a very similar area. So it's not impossible that other young leopard turns up, but the Piccadilly female will beat her if she catches her.
Mia Ferreira asking, how old is this female leopard? She was born in December 2013, so it's just over 6 years old. This is the Piccadilly female. For those of you that might be familiar with the Sibuya female, this is her sister from the same litter.
Death Angel, normal corpse and summer things. And welcome back to Giraffe Girl. And then James and Durango asking which country this is. So we're in South Africa, in particular we're on MalaMala Game Reserve in South Africa, next to the Kruger National Park, or part of the greater Kruger National Park. But yeah, if you Google MalaMala main camp or go on Google Maps, we're just within 500 meters to the east of the main camp, so easy to find. Michael Sewell saying greetings from Seaview Port Elizabeth. Michael, your daughter did not want to drive. I think she's camera shy and you need to speak to her. Dizzy 1369 asking any more sign of the wild dogs. So I did spend some time with some of the other rangers in that general area trying to see if we could find them, but we actually got distracted when we came across the other female leopard we found this morning and a herd of buffalo as well, so we didn't quite get time. Then the other vehicle in the same general area, we're following lion tracks, so we weren't really able to commit to finding those dogs. Nacho Sanchez saying the Impala is a paid actor. Well, I'm hoping for the Impala's sake it's being paid very well. Greetings from Argentina, Abel. Startaz asking what sort of range do leopards have. So it really varies. Here I would say the average territory is about 20 square kilometers, but if you go outside of this area, like to the Cape and some of the desert areas, can be as much as 200 square kilometers. But the leopard territories here are some of the smallest in the world. We're known for having one of the highest leopard densities in Africa and arguably in the world, depending on how you want to measure it. And then so for those of you just joining us, we're here at MalaMala Game Reserve with the Piccadilly female. She just caught an impala about an hour ago. It's busy just starting to open up and feed on the carcass. And you'll see she keeps plucking all the fur off. So just like your cats at home, she wants to get the fur off because she can't digest it. And if she were to eat too much of it, she'd have to cough up a big fur ball. So she's trying to get rid of that fur as best possible before she starts eating. And then, so there you can see her plucking that off. And then you'll see she kind of uses the side of her mouth there. And what she's doing is actually using her carnassial teeth. So where molars are in humans, they don't have molars, they have carnassials. And those carnassials are what makes a carnivore a carnivore. So, for instance, a crocodile is not a carnivore. It's a predator, yes, but it doesn't have carnassial teeth. So that's also why panda bears, even though they only eat bamboo, are still considered carnivores. They've got those same carnassial teeth. But she's going to try to get to the liver and kidneys and that sort of thing, all that soft, juicy meat that's easy to eat. Because she doesn't know when a hyena, leopards, lions, something is going to come and steal this kill from her. You can see how she keeps looking around as well. And a few folks, she hadn't. And bear in mind, then she's dragged it about 100 meters out of one of the open areas to where it is now. You can see she's kind of under some shrubs and hidden away from the vultures and that. So she's pretty tired, and now she's going to try and wolf down as much as she can before she probably will put it up a tree, or we're hoping she will put it up a tree, and then with luck she'll be here for a few days. And Bart, we look forward to seeing you next year. Jonathan asking, are there any male leopards? So not really in this area. We're in what used to be the territory of the Senegal bushmale, but he seems to have moved his territory more to the west. So this is almost like a bit of a blank area for male leopards, but her two nephews, the two sons of the Mtsogweni female, have started to move into this area, and we're really hoping they settle down here.
So folks, I'm going to wiggle this around a bit. I just want to get her a little bit more central so I can zoom in if necessary. Yeah. So I'm going to try that again. While I'm trying this, I'm just going to show you the rest of the guys in the vehicle, since I'm going to shake it about anyway. So there's Mike and Nick, and then myself, Gareth. So we're going to try and just get her more central in the screen here, so that I can zoom in more than I was.
And sorry for Ray, just pointing out Nadav this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Nadav. So yeah, Nadav is the other member of the team here. He's actually allowed us to use his channel to bring you these sightings from MalaMala. And he's also extremely quick with putting on the updates as well.
I'm going about this a really backwards way, my apologies folks, but we will get there. Okay, there we go.
Drop your camera overboard.
Yeah,
your phone.
This is a much better way to do this. Apologies for that.
Folks, so hopefully that's much. We're getting there.
Turned it around nicely for us so we can zoom in nicely there.
Right, Haley loves wildlife, you're right. So the Impala rat has just started moments. This Impala probably pregnant. You can see all those intestines and everything that's kind of bulging out now. That's because all the gases in her stomach those gases are building up in the stomach. The stomach's swelling and it's pushing everything out. So remember, with these animals, with their 4 stomachs, they produce quite a fair amount of And Renek the return asking, can we hold the camera steady? We're definitely trying. We're just trying to get a better image for you.
And there's a bit of a lag there. The camera is steady now. We are busy watching it on Mike's phone. And
so I'm just actually refreshing my phone to catch up here. There we go. I think that's a lot better now. Dizzy's saying she'll get popped, so it actually might well pop. But very often the cats are fairly careful taking the stomach and all that out. So she can't eat the chlorophyll in plants. It's actually toxic to the cats. So that's why your house cat at home eats grass. When it does want to cough up a fur ball, it's an emetic. It makes them sick. And just easier for them to cough up that fur ball. So if she does take the stomach out, she's going to be as careful as possible not to get the stomach contents all over her meat. So she will be fairly careful, and also just the smell of that will probably attract hyenas a little bit quicker than she'd like them to get here. Megan Lockhart, hyena could definitely take a leopard on one-on-one. So I've been lucky enough to watch this leopard since she was a cub. And she's actually a little bit braver with hyenas than most leopards are. I've seen her actually go out of her way to kind of almost pick a fight with them. But a hyena after that kill is going to be so determined and that there's no way she'll be able to fight it off. And she can't risk an injury. So she'll have to kind of give up. And wild UAE, so I'm actually not sure. The father of these cubs we think is a Senegal bushmale.
Sure. Is that
I think so. It's not in the circle. If I remember correctly, it's a Senegal bushmale. But we haven't seen him around for quite some time.
Are you talking about the father of her potential cubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the last... Well, she was mating with two leopards. She was mating with the Senegal bushmale, and then there's quite a nervous male in Marthley that she has seen mating with as well.
Thank you for that, Startaz. And Yo MMA asking when will she next eat. So assuming that she does have a good feed and is able to move this kill and put it up a tree without it getting stolen by something else, then she might be here for another 2 or 3 days before she's eaten this, and then we'll look to feed again. And where we are now is actually right on the riverbank, and that there's quite a big density of impala here, so it's actually not impossible that even while she's eating this one, another one will kind of blunder into her. We're on one of the sort of main game trails leading down to the river, so she might catch something quite soon. But yeah, I would say probably in the next two to 3 days we'd expect her to try to make another kill, or go put an effort into making another kill. But again, because this is such a high traffic area, it's actually quite likely that other predators will come through here and probably steal this kill from her. So Sammy Jane asking where's the nearest hoisting tree. So there's quite a few south of her, so on the screen what would be sort of behind and to the left of her. The one closest to us, it's a bit iffy, but she could use it, I suppose. But about 100 yards further south there's quite a lot. I've actually seen her with kills in some of these trees south of us. And as luck would have it, I'm in the process of editing a video of her and her mom when she was still a dependent cub. Her and her mom caught an impala about 100 meters from where we are. So if you go into MalaMala's YouTube channel, it'll probably be up in the day after tomorrow, and you can have a look. Not that she contributed much. Her mom caught it and then she just ran in and just started eating before the impala had died. But yeah, interesting video nonetheless.
Edward Katia asking which park is this? This is MalaMala Game Reserve, and we are part of the greater Kruger National Park. So we border the Kruger National Park as well as the Sabi Game Reserve. Oops, that's the other way. Usually when I do this, it flips around.
Yeah. So Matthew, it's quite hard to actually show around right now. But yeah, we're in a sort of relatively what's properly called low veld bush veld. So there's just trees all around. So there's no big views of savannas. But we're also closer to the river bank of the Land River. So there's quite a few big trees around here. It's fairly shady. But yeah, some of you pointing out that you can hear actually this tearing sound. But you can actually see she's also lapping up the blood coming out of that impala now. And Renek asking the return, if a vehicle got a flat tire, whose job would it be to change it? So, as with all things, it's a shotgun rule. So the last one to shout shotgun not is the one responsible for changing the tire. It's a very mature approach that we take to these things. Sammy Jane asking what's her spot pattern. So for her it's 3-3. And interestingly, the sister that Kimberly Lopez is referred to has a 2-2 spot pattern. So they're both littermates, and it's a 3-3 spot pattern for the Piccadilly female. Her sister 2-2 spot pattern. With the case might be, tend to be more successful leopards. So the more symmetrical their faces are, the more successful they are. We're not sure if that's just coincidence that it's worked out like that, but otherwise there might be something to it that can be looked at.
And Kimberly Lopez was just in the north of the property along the Mluati River.
And Dizzy saying the hyenas have got to smell it by now, so it is quite possible. She's got a bit of an intestine there.
She's squeezing out all the pellets there.
For those of you curious about what an impala's colon looks like, she just swallowed it there. Sammy Jane asking how many cubs has she had. So she's had a couple, but none successful, unfortunately. We suspect she has cubs now, but we just don't know. The area that she has those cubs in, or suspected to have them in, is this very, very rocky area. There's no roads or any real access in there. The last time she did have cubs there, we only saw that cub when he was about 4-ish months old. It's just too difficult to get in there. Mike Jones asking why don't leopards eat and roam in packs? So lions do, and it's just a different lifestyle that these different animals have. There are pack hunting predators here, like the lions, hyenas, and the Cape hunting dogs. And then you've got the solitary animals like the leopard and the cheetah. They're just after different things, different lifestyles. Den Shah asking leopards don't eat organs. So they do eat organs, and the organs are actually very important to eat, because that's where she'll get all of her vitamins and minerals from. Rede asking, does the blood act like water? So I'm assuming you are meaning, can she drink it in place of water? So she certainly can drink it. I think if we were to drink it, a lot of those salts in that would make us pretty thirsty. Their liver and kidneys and the cats seem to handle that water loss and absorption a lot better. So she can drink it in place of water for a few days. I think the leopards in some of the desert areas might only drink once a week or even longer than that, where we would die in the same situation. Would wild dogs give a feeding leopard problems? Asked Dizzy. So yes, actually, were you in that sighting, Nick, when she got her kill stolen by the dogs? I forget exactly how long ago, but I want to say 5-6 months ago she had a kill that was pretty fresh like this one, stolen by a pack of wild dogs. First Lady Shah asking, can a leopard eat a rotted carcass? Yes, they can. And they can eat an extremely rotted carcass at that. That would make even the hyenas blush. James Richard asking, have we had any recent sightings of her older sister, the Msogweni female? So Nick, who is our driver, actually found the Msogweni female this morning. And what was she doing, Nicholas?
Well, she was also feeding off, or she had an Impala ram kill stashed up in a tree with a lot of hyenas hanging around.
Yeah, so the same thing, but 24 hours ahead. But hopefully that, I know Nick got quite a lot of video of that, so we'll put it onto MalaMala's YouTube channel again in the next couple of days, and you can have a look there. If you want to be notified, just like and subscribe and press the little bell button. The same as with these live streams that we're doing. So we can't really live stream every day. Unfortunately, we have to hope the animals are somewhere where their signal is, because Gareth and I are using our phones to do these live streams. So luckily his phone has an excellent camera, much better than mine. But if you do want to be notified at the last moment when these live streams are happening, just like and subscribe and just press the bell icon to get the notifications of when the live streams are happening. But generally we try to do them in the afternoons, so between 4 and 6 South African time.
And Colin Pierre asking, can she eat the whole thing if she wanted to in one setting? I don't think so, Colin. Maybe a much smaller. I don't even know if she could eat an entire Impala lamb in one sitting. But no, definitely not. Song of Rain, do you think she will eventually hoist this kill? I think if she wants to hang on to it, she may have to hoist it at some point. Yeah, if she leaves it on the ground here, especially when it starts to get dark and the temperature cools a bit and the smell carries a bit further, it's very likely that a hyena or any other predator might come and steal it.
I can't see any vultures actually at the moment, and you can just see from the shadow she's in, she's actually underneath quite a dense patch of bush. So I don't think the vultures would even be able to see her unless they were very lucky.
A few people have asked when this impala was killed. It was probably killed about, I think, within the last 2 hours. About 2 hours ago, one of the rangers here, the other Gareth, G-Nut, found drag marks crossing the road and followed them and found the Piccadilly female.
In return, yes, we we do film more for scenery and quite long distance shots of the animals. We try not to be too intrusive with the drones. And some of the animals, like the leopards, we haven't tried, but it's also we suspect that they wouldn't really appreciate it. Some of the other animals, weirdly, Impala just ignore the drones completely. They don't seem to have a problem with it. Giraffe the same. Buffalo don't really care about it. Lions doesn't bother them. So it does seem some animals just don't take note of it. I think if it's like they're not used to being hunted or threatened by things in the air, by birds, so it's not a feature for them to worry about.
Welcome Maggie and Gordon. And then Black Malink is saying, I love the neck when you cook it. Tastes beautiful. Impala does taste quite good.
Forex Gold so asking, can it defend itself from a solitary hyena? So not really. So that a hyena would just run in, grab hold, and almost just completely ignore her while it's stealing her kill. Even if she were to swat it once or twice, I've seen the hyenas just shrug that off as if nothing has happened.
Okay, so she is trying to drag it somewhere. I think I'm just going to take this off for now.
Alright, we're just going to see what she's up to here. I think she's just trying to bury it deeper into this thicket, as opposed to taking it to put it up a tree.
But you can see how very camouflaged she is in there.
First Lady Shah asking, how often do leopard break their teeth while eating the hard part of the meat? I suppose it's not impossible, but it's not something I've actually noticed. We see sometimes lions missing teeth.
Watch how she's covering up some of that blood there. She's very conscious of the smell that it gives off.
But yeah, something like a lion that might get kicked in the teeth by a giraffe or a zebra or something is far more likely to lose a tooth. I actually can't remember off the top of my head seeing a leopard missing one of its canines. Sometimes as they get old, they just get worn down. Just having a little digest.
So I'm just going to reposition this again. It doesn't look like she's going anywhere.
And Heather Lily asking, which leopard is this? So this is the Piccadilly female leopard. And for those of you just joining us, we're here at MalaMala Game Reserve inside South Africa's Kruger National Park, or next to the Kruger National Park. But this leopard, she killed this impala about 2-ish hours ago now. So she's just feeding on it, or she's just finished feeding for now, round 1 I suppose. And we'll just groom herself a little bit and then presumably either move the kill up a tree or possibly bury it where it is if she still feels it's a bit too heavy to put up the tree. And then it's not impossible, this leopard we think has got some cubs, so she might want to go back to those cubs to give them a feed and then return, or if she feels that her kill is safe. The cubs themselves, we haven't seen them yet, but we don't think they're particularly old, and they're not yet at an age where they're going to be eating meat. So she's unlikely to bring them here, but would just be way too risky anyway. Yeah, so we'll just see if any other predators turn up. It really wouldn't surprise me if any hyenas came through. It's a relatively cool day here, so the carcass is fresh, so it's not really smelling. But hyenas have incredibly sensitive noses, so that blood that is out and exposed now could certainly attract them. And Heather Lily just asking who is the father of her cubs presumed to be. So we think it's a Senegal bushmale, but we may be wrong. We actually did a project here a while back with an organization called Panthera, where we were collecting leopard scat to get DNA samples to see which leopards are related to who and so on. And the leopards that we had listed as the mothers and fathers purely through observation, we were about sort of just past 90% accurate with who the father was. So the Senegal bushmale is a pretty good guess, though there's a small chance it might be another more nervous leopard we sometimes see in her territory, who I don't think we even have an ID photo of him because he keeps running away. And we haven't really named him as a result.
Earth Angel asking what's the smell of a leopard. They don't have too much of a smell. You can see how she's grooming there. They are very clean, and it's very important that they do groom and keep themselves very clean. Firstly, for hunting, they are solitary hunters. Mike spoke a little bit about the predators that hunt in packs. Leopard hunts by itself, and that's why it's so camouflaged. And when it stalks, it has to be really careful that it doesn't get snagged on any grasses or any plants. So it's quite important to have that nice, silky, smooth, clean coat. They're not quite as smelly as the pack of wild dogs we saw yesterday.
First lady asking who gives the name to the leopard cubs. So we don't name the leopard cubs until they are fully independent and have their own territories. So her cubs we will just refer to as the cubs of the Piccadilly female. And then perhaps later the son or the daughter of the Piccadilly female. And then once she gets, those cubs have their own territory, we'll name that after a feature in their territory. So the open area behind us is called Piccadilly Triangle, and it's more or less in the middle of her territory, which is why we call her the Piccadilly female. En Chong just asking what's the exact location on the map. So the easiest way is to go on Google Maps, Google MalaMala Game Reserve. You'll get a little pin there, and then we are 500 meters to the east of that pin. And we are just on the other side of the Sand River from the camp. Someone was asking how far is the nearest water, and that is just a few hundred meters away. There is a pool of water maybe 200 meters away, and I think that's actually where she caught the impala when it was coming down to drink.
Then Melissa Gribb asking how old is this live stream? For you it's about 30 seconds old. I see that's the lag time from when we are talking to when it shows up on Mike's screen, so we are actually live. It's not very old at all.
Someone asking, or Renwick asking, what is the leopard population? Is it considered endangered? So I think all of the world's carnivores are now considered endangered. If anything, the leopards are doing the best of any carnivores, and you get them right across or through Africa, except for in the middle of the Sahara Desert and the Namib. And then you even get leopards through into Asia. In the past, they'd go as far as the Baltic, and then to sort of the southern parts of China. So a massive range. Could a cheetah breed with a leopard naturally? Asks Medi Boy. So no. They're quite different species, so they wouldn't even really be able to interpret the signals from one another to say like this female's in season and or approaching mating time and that. And then leopards actually eat cheetah. So, the odds of any sort of natural interbreeding are so slim, and that's limited a lot by their behavior. They wouldn't even get the opportunity to mate with one another. Never mind even understand the sort of languages they're speaking.
And then Melissa Gribb, we did misunderstand your question there. These live streams have been going since, I'd say, probably, what month are we in now?
May.
Okay, January, March. So probably from about the beginning of March. No, end of March. So we've been here for a while now. Kind of lose track of time here. But yeah, so we've been going for about a month. Nadav has kindly let us stream on his latest Sightings channel. And we are streaming live from MalaMala Game Reserve.
Megan Lockhart asking, are Indian leopards the same size as African leopards? So I don't think there's a huge size difference, but the leopards in this part of the world do tend to be quite big. I think the smallest leopards are the ones that they see in Israel. And those leopards, I think, are a fraction of the size of the African leopards, or like this leopard. So there, I think males are sort of 30-40 kilograms, where she's probably 60-ish kilograms. Well, no, maybe 40-50 kilograms. The males are between 60 and 70 kilograms, sometimes much bigger in this part of the world. Craig Peters asking, how often do they kill? So that's normally about every 2 or 3 days. Depends on what size the last thing they killed was and how much of it they were able to eat before it potentially got stolen.
Karina asking, what is the most common animal leopards hunt? Out of the antelopes, definitely impalas. But I wonder if they catch more scrub hares.
I think they catch a lot of scrub hares that we don't realize.
Yeah, I think they catch a lot of scrub hares that we don't see, just because they tend to catch them more at night, and we only drive a little bit into the night. But out of the larger species, certainly impala.
Weedy in Washington asking, will we still be able to run live streams after the lockdown is over? So Gareth can answer that because he's been dealing with the admin like a Trojan.
Yeah, we are planning on doing so. We are at the mercy of our president at the moment, and of course at the mercy of this pandemic that is worldwide. I think the tourism industry will be one of the last, if not the last, to open in South Africa. So lockdown may be a little bit longer for us than most other places. But yeah, we certainly are aiming to continue with our live streams and potentially our videos after the lockdown.
Jonathan asking, can a jaguar mate with a leopard? So not in the wild, because jaguars are from South America, or you actually used to get them into North America as well. I believe there was one seen not long ago in Arizona, but they wouldn't actually come across one another. A lot of the animals like ligers and whatever weird names they come up with for these animals, those are zoo animals where it's very unusual, unnatural conditions where they are mating, but it's not something that would ever take place in the wild. One of the reasons ligers get so big is that they're missing one of their chromosomes, because the two species don't quite match up chromosome wise. So those ligers are actually eternal adolescents, so their pituitary gland doesn't switch on and tell them to stop being an adolescent, which is why they grow throughout their life. Sadly, that constant growth makes them very, very vulnerable to cancer. So most of those animals don't lead a full life and normally die of cancer at a relatively young age.
First Lady Shah asking how often do we see honey badgers. We don't see them all that often. There are plenty of them around. We see their tracks almost on a daily basis. They are, for the most part, nocturnal animals. And like I said a bit earlier, we don't drive around all that much or quite as often at night as we do during the day. Some of you guys have just asked about these vehicles driving around. We are continuing to have to maintain the property, and there's 2 tractors that one drove by earlier and another that's just driving by, and you would have noticed that the Piccadilly female did pick up her head. I think someone said that they are used to the vehicles, and they are indeed, but they're certainly more comfortable with the vehicles that we take game drives in, just because they know how these vehicles will behave around them. And for many years we've been driving in these same vehicles in the same gear, and all of the vehicles have the same engine, so they're very used to the noise of this engine as opposed to a different vehicle's engine.
BB asking, do leopards consider lions as enemies? So yes, they definitely do. The lions would love to steal this carcass from her. But as far as we know, there's no lions in this immediate area. We're in the middle of the Kambula Pride's territory, who, if you go back on latest Sightings videos, a lot of the live streams, I think all of the live streams with lions, in fact, have been of the Kambula Pride. They just happen to be quite far south of us at the moment. So I think she'll be lucky from the point of view of avoiding lions. The most likely thing to steal her kill at the moment is hyena. It's also getting a bit late on in the afternoon. This is about the time that the hyenas are going to be waking up. Also, the scent of this impala is probably wafting out slowly, sort of ever widening circles. So at some point or another, a hyena might realize and come and follow up here.
And then in Mediboy 3, if that's how you pronounce your name or your handle, how come leopards are doing so well as in a population rather than other cats? So leopards are highly adaptable cats. They eat a wide variety of food, from insects through to fish, through to anything they can catch, really. And because they're solitary, I guess they catch, or they get less attention. There's a program, the BBC documentary, and one of those, I think it's Wildlife in Cities, one of the Wild Earth episodes, where they talk about the leopards in Mumbai city, and that it's one of the densest populations of leopards in the world. So they go unnoticed. They're very secretive. You can see how camouflaged this leopard is here. And as Mike's already said, you find them on beaches and deserts, in cold mountains, in the savannas. They're just incredibly adaptable cats.
En Chong asking, would a vet ever intervene here? So it would very much depend on the situation. So if very broadly, for the most endangered animals, we will help them if we can. If it was something man-made, we would definitely help. But there also needs to be a bit of understanding. Say, for instance, she were to break her leg. The only way to practically treat that would be to catch her, put a cast on her, then put her in a cage with a cone around her head so that she wouldn't chew that plaster cast off, and then feed her for that 6 to 8 weeks until that bone heals, and then potentially release her somewhere. And she is not going to like any stage of that process. A lot of these leopards that have been caught in traps and so on to be relocated, they die from the stress of capture. They often smash their teeth out on the bars. They're incredibly aggressive. They see it as this constant attack, so it's hugely stressful on them. So we try not to intervene as hard as it is, particularly with a leopard like this. So I've been viewing this family of leopards now over 4 generations since I started here in 2002. So I used to watch her great-grandmother, and then her obviously a grandmother, mother, and I've viewed her sisters, older sisters and cousins and that over the years. So you do form a bit of an attachment to them. So it is difficult sometimes just to sit back and watch, but at the same time it's a wild animal. If nature sadly has to unfold as it does. This impala was on the sharp end of nature taking its course, but it does mean that she gets a meal and her cubs get a meal. If she breaks her leg and can't hunt and dies, that means the impala won't be caught and eaten and its youngsters survive. So you have to kind of weigh up the value of one life against the other.
Welcome, Dave. So you've just tuned in. And then earlier there was a question from Maggie and Gordon. We have not been into the Kruger National Park. They are also under lockdown conditions. But I don't believe there'll be much change in the animals' behavior with fewer vehicles around. We haven't seen much change here at MalaMala whatsoever.
Wolfie Storm asking, is there a reason she started in the stomach area? So partly that's got to do with, that's actually the thinnest part to get through. So if you think about the sort of anatomy of that impala, going through the belly, the skin is relatively thin, and once sort of behind the stomach and intestines is the liver and kidneys and heart and lungs, all the nice soft bits. Trying to go through the ribs and that is quite difficult. Like to crunch through all those ribs and that is going to take a lot of effort. And also kind of from the back end, all the hams, the sort of backside of it is all muscle and that. So not particularly nutritious. So for her, the stomach is the sort of quickest, simplest option to get at all the internal organs as fast as possible. Because also she doesn't know how long she will have this kill. We haven't seen any other predators around, no sign of vultures or hyenas yet, but that doesn't mean one couldn't turn up in the next 30 seconds or 30 minutes, we don't know.
Don't pass my water in there.
Brian Elmer, so yes, this is the Piccadilly female. And again, for everyone that's just joining us, so this is the Piccadilly female leopard here on MalaMala Game Reserve in the Kruger National Park. And she caught this impala around 4 o'clock our time. I think it's now...
A little bit earlier, I think. Probably about 3:30.
Yeah.
Or 3.
I'm not even sure what the time is now.
It's 4:30 now.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, so she caught this about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago.
And so then she pulled it under this tree. She's eaten a little bit of it. Now she's just sleeping it off and digesting a little. She'll maybe have another feed, and we're hoping she'll actually put it up a tree, and that way we'll be able to see her over the next 2 or 3 days, hopefully, if another predator doesn't steal it. If it's up a tree, she only has to worry about other cats. So Heather Lilly asking how many litters has she had. So her sister, the Saboya female, has been quite successful and has actually raised one of her cubs to adulthood. She hasn't been so lucky, and it's kind of a catch-22. So she has one of the best leopard territories in the area because it's such a game-dense area. So it's where the Manyaleti, Sand Rivers and Mawati Rivers all join together is more or less the core of her territory. but because it's such a game-rich area, it means there's lots of other predators around. So she's lost her cubs to other predators. Her sister, the Sibuya female, lives in a lot less game-dense area, but as a result, there's fewer threats to her cubs. So she has been a bit more successful. And her older sister, the Msegweni female, has likewise been a lot more successful in raising cubs because she lives in what, by MalaMala standards, is a fairly poor area as far as other game is concerned. Alex Croton asking why is she breathing so heavily, and that's partly just because she's full, but she's also had a big meal, so she's hot as well. So she's just kind of breathing heavily to cool down. They don't sweat like we do, where we cooling down over our whole body. She's only cooling down off of her tongue and through her nose as she's panting. And welcome Luca Moreira. Varushka Lobsha asking, will she bring the cubs here to feed? So I don't think so. Her cubs are very young, we think. Probably less than 6 weeks old, so they're not yet eating meat. They'll just be drinking milk. It's normally from 6 to 8 weeks that they start to have their first meat. And then normally from sort of 6 months they're fully weaned and are exclusively eating meat. But yeah, the cubs are, well, where we think she has the cubs is actually pretty far from here. So it wouldn't be very safe for her to move this distance. It is a bit of a worry though that she is quite far from where the cubs are, or we think they are, so hopefully nothing has happened to them. But also for a leopard to leave her cubs for 24 hours isn't unusual, even when they are young, because they do have to still patrol and maintain their territories. I don't think she's aware of it, but this morning we saw another young female leopard in the same area, who's probably taking advantage of the fact that the Piccadilly female hasn't been patrolling as successfully. And welcome back, Miss Anamandris. So Gareth is actually looking to see at the moment with the binoculars if she does still have suckle marks.
Yeah, it's very difficult to see. We are sitting very close to her, but it's actually difficult to see if she does have suckle marks. So I can't say yes or no at this stage.
Why are cat babies called cubs and not kittens, asks Dizzy1369. And to that I actually have no idea.
No idea. Maybe one of you guys can Google it out there and let us know. Someone's just said, because they are big cats. Maybe that is the reason. I have no idea.
Renek the Return was the Cubs' father in their life, was he a deadbeat dad? So I'm going to say he's along the lines more of the deadbeat dad, because he just kind of left the territory, and we haven't seen him in this area for quite some time now. But it does seem to be very variable. Her dad was a leopard we knew as the airstrip male. He was very easy to identify because he was blind in one eye, but he was a particularly successful leopard. But when they were young, or her and her sister, the Sibuya female, were very young, he used to spend a lot of time with them.
Still got a bit more.
Male leopards don't like their cubs around them, but he would be calling them, and then as they approached, he would chase them away. And even when she got a bit older, he'd often trail along behind her. and just kind of keep an eye on her and maybe watch her. So I'm not sure what his motivations were, but some of our leopards are very good at.
I think I'm just going to try and buy some more quick. I'm going to keep while Karen talking. I think it's still
John short. But yeah, I think there's lots of people that we are kind of the second, or a good second choice. I'm hoping. So it's not impossible. It normally doesn't happen though, because from cubhood to adulthood is normally about 5 years before they actually mate. So it's very, very unusual that a male leopard is able to keep a territory for 5 years. And for that reason, they are not normally around when their own daughters are available to, or become available to mate. It's a very similar thing for lions as well. They're just not around long enough to kind of see it through, and perhaps say to 5-6 years of holding a territory. That's why the cats also have what's seen by us as a very cruel habit, killing the cubs of sort of 3-4 years tops to successfully raise cubs. And most cats are independent at 2. So they're independent at 2 but breeding at 5, and that way they kind of avoid inbreeding and that, because the cubs are never sort of in estrus by the time they've been replaced, and he doesn't want to waste 2 of his 4 years raising someone else's cubs, so they do just kill the other leopards or lions' cubs.
Jono Short asking what area we're in today. Jono, this is a Piccadilly female. I'll give you one guess and one guess only.
The clue is in the question.
Yeah. And Dizzy 1369 asking if I saw some hyenas through my binoculars. We're in relatively thick bush here, but I don't see any hyenas around currently.
Meter Karan. So the kill itself is just kind of to the right of screen. It's hidden in some bush. It's not a particularly exciting thing to look at the moment, but maybe we'll zoom out in a bit, and you can have a look.
Hi, Meter.
How old is this leopard? So it's 2013.
Yeah, December 2013. She's 6 years and 4 or 5 months. So pushing on 6.5 years.
And 4X gold, that is a Franklin in the background. And then I can't hear it right now, but there's also a parrot screeching somewhere, a brown-headed parrot. So it seems like the cub kitten thing is kind of down to size, and the origin of kitten is late Middle English. And Chris Kirke asking when a leopard hangs a kill up in a tree, how many days before she won't eat due to the meat going rotten. So there isn't really a limit. The meat will kind of rot and fall out of the tree before she won't eat it. I've seen leopards eating some pretty horrific smelling meat over the years, but something like this, she will probably put it in a tree at some point if it isn't stolen before then. But once the stomach contents, which is maybe sort of about a third of the weight of that impala, she can't really eat, because it's the impala's 4 stomachs and its intestine that's just full of vegetation, which she's not interested in. And then a lot of the weight is also the skin and the bones and that. So say she eats about a third of it, she'll get through that probably in the next 2 or 3 days. And then the scraps that are left up in the tree when she moves off, maybe eagles, the hooded vultures. I've actually seen genets liberate kills from leopards before. While the leopards were sleeping underneath, the genets come out and sneak a few bites. But she'll also be obliged to leave at some point to go and get a drink, and this leopard in particular probably has to go back to her cubs also within the next 24 hours at least. So she may well have to move at some point, and then other predators will probably sneak in and steal it.
Pat Thurbin just saying a big thank you to us. Thanks, Pat. We really enjoy these live streams, and we're glad that you guys can enjoy these experiences with us. Bond James Bond. So no dry aging of Impala. Wonder how dry aged Impala steak would taste like. Dry aged Impala steak is a very popular snack here in South Africa. We call it biltong. And it's very good.
Lance Clark asking, is she vulnerable to hyenas because she's so full? So she might, I would say, if anything, just be a little bit more sleepy because she's full, and maybe not. I wouldn't say she's more vulnerable. Leopards are pretty sharp animals. It might get a few steps closer than if she was up and looking around. But also, any hyena coming in now is going to want the impala. It doesn't want her. So the impala is like quite a big piece of free meat there, really, where she is going to react really badly to an impala nibbling on her. And she'll probably hiss and growl and that, but she'll have to back down. Because she's relying purely on herself for hunting, she can't afford to get into any kind of fight with a hyena, potentially be so badly injured that she won't be able to look after herself and her cubs. So the sensible thing for her to do would be to back down.
Foix Gold saying, biltong and Windhoek. It is a good combo, that.
If you enjoy frothy beer.
Yeah.
James Bond, beef jerky is nothing like biltong. Biltong is about 1,000,000 times better. Stara Patrika asking who is a favorite African predator. So for me, it's 100% the lions. Nick, what's your favorite African predator?
The leopard.
So Nick takes a second choice, leopards. Look how boring they are, just sleeping all day. Lions would never do something like that. Your favorite game?
I'm going to go with leopard or wild dog. It's a toss-up. Preferably leopards and wild dogs in the same sighting.
Keith Picard asking, does the leopard tend to eat the higher fat parts first? So, not really. So she's after the most nutritional parts, more from a vitamin and mineral point of view. So the cats can't actually generate their own vitamins, so they need to get it from their food, which is why it's really important that she eats the liver and kidneys and all that as well, not just the meat of the impala. If she were to be purely eating the meat or that dry-aged rump we are talking about, she would actually get the lion or the leopard equivalent, of scurvy. So it is important that she eats the whole thing, and also important that she eats it with the fur on, because that fur is what's brushing her teeth and keeping them clean as well. So whole foods really for leopards, though their definition of whole foods and ours is quite different. Have you ever eaten, guys, impala meat? I'm going to answer that with substantial amounts. Nick, have you ever eaten impala meat?
Substantial amounts.
Yeah, I think we've all eaten a lot of impala meat.
Yeah. Sadly for the impala, they're actually quite delicious.
Okay, here she goes again.
Let's see if she's going to move it or maybe just eat some more.
Just excuse the wiggle again. Hold it with my hand for now. It wasn't far from here.
Good. Also, if you want to catch up with all of
Video that's gone up is of the Inkoveni female, who's actually neighbor or a neighbor to the Piccadilly female. Her territory is just on the other side of the river. So if you want to go and have a look, and we suspect she's also got cubs. So if you want to go and have a look at that video, please do on MalaMala's YouTube channel.
Melissa Gribb asking why cats don't regurgitate to the young. The only feeders and raisers of youngsters. The leopards not so much. Often take a leg or the head of some other animal that they've found or caught back to their den for their cubs to chew on, where the lions and leopards and cheetah tend to bring their cubs to the kill. I think for her, because she has an alternate way of storing it by putting it up a tree or maybe burying it under some leaf litter in a thicket, where the dogs can't really do that. They don't have that ability, so storing it inside of their stomachs is probably the best option for the dogs. And with lions, as much as I love them, they are quite greedy, selfish animals, so they all just eat as much as they can. So the cubs just need to bail in and feed as much as possible. But you'll see, folks, how she keeps looking around, because she is getting quite aware that now at sunset, the sun is just about to drop behind the mountains. It's quite likely hyenas are going to turn up. It's not so much a question as if, as of when. Thieves and or threat to her.
And Heather Lilly asking how big is the Impala compared to the Piccadilly female. So I'd say they're about the same size. Probably a few. There we go. Let's see if she's going to hide away. Whoop. Coming out there.
It almost seems like she wants to be facing this way. She did look up in this direction. I don't know if she's heard something behind us. She did turn around and look in that direction earlier. But,
so we're not going to take the camera off of her, but quite far behind us, to the north of us, is a rocky outcrop we know as Campbell Koppies. It's the same Campbell Koppies that the Kambula Pride of Lions is named after. And there's a lot of hyena that sleep in the day kind of on the slopes and in the valley in front of that. So if a hyena is going to appear from any direction, I'm guessing it's going to be from behind us. And also where she killed the Impala is also behind us, and she dragged it here about 100 yards or so. So that scent trail that was created is probably also going to lead the Impalas into this kill. Miss Anamandris asking, is Piccadilly yes, like she's not huge, but she is on Ngoba's one female, and she was in a very, very large leopard.
she was probably the most successful leopard here at MalaMala, in the sense that she raised very many cubs to adulthood. But one distinguishing feature of this leopard is that she's a very dark leopard. If you look at the top of her head there, it's almost black. She's got a very dark top of her head, neck and back.
Asking, are there any king leopards in the KNP? So there have been sightings of king cheetah, which is a much more stripy than a spotted coat. I've never heard of a leopard having that type of a coat, but the closest leopards get to that would probably be, there's been reports of what's called strawberry leopards, so more red than the sort of yellow with black spots. They're more red or strawberry colored with black spots. I'm assuming the strawberry also referring to the little black pips that you'd see on a strawberry. But the other option for leopards is to be a black panther, so what's properly called a melanistic leopard. But neither of those we've seen here on MalaMala. A king cheetah has been seen on MalaMala before, and very fortunately and coincidentally, it was when Margaret Thatcher was visiting MalaMala. We saw one here, and I think that was in 1980 or 81, so a very, very long time ago.
She's being very considerate with the angle she's giving us today. I think the last time we live streamed her, she was lying in a patch of grass for about an hour, and we couldn't even see her at all.
Star Patrika asking, would a Siberian tiger kill lion easily or hardly? So I actually used to look after a number of Siberian tigers, and I can assure you that they are much, much bigger than African lions. I've got no doubt the lions would put up a bit of a fight. And 4x gold, just looking on the bright side there. Zarafsha asking, why is it shaving it? And so that's so that she doesn't eat more fur than is necessary. So she can't digest that hair on the Impala. If she does, or what she does eat, and also what she licks off of herself, of her own fur while she's grooming it, she will have to pass somehow. Either pass it normally when she poops it out, or if there's just too much of it, she'll have to cough it up as a fur ball. So she wants to avoid that as much as possible. So she'll try of that to get at the heart and lungs now.
Dylan Morgan, welcome back. This is the Piccadilly female, and she was born in December 2013, so she's just over 6 years old.
Saying Siberian tigers have a lot of fur on them to make them seem bigger. So yes, that's true, but I'm certainly one of the few people that can say I've had to pick up both an African male lion as well as a male Siberian tiger, and I can assure you that a Siberian tiger is a lot heavier than a male lion, even shaved with fur or not fur. And Ragu saying leopard would camouflage in the dense jungle, and that is probably very, very true. Certainly I would agree with that. A black leopard here just would stand out too much to really be successful, where one in the Congo or the jungles of India would be far more successful and able to blend in. A good indicator is sort of one of the grassland cats that we get here, kind of cheetah, but you do in the animals sometimes, and they're called servaline servals then. And for the same reasons, we wouldn't see a black serval here because it would just stand out too much in this dry grass. But a black serval in the Congo rainforest would be able to get by just as well as a normal colored one.
Thanks. So the sun is set now, and the temperature is dropping very rapidly as it does here in autumn or winter. And you can see the Piccadilly female is looking than she was earlier, or try and protect this kill from any other predator.
Jonathan asking, have you seen a king cheetah? So not in the wild. I've seen them at some cheetah breeding centers, But I don't know of any king cheetah being seen in the wild, certainly in the last decade. No. Have you ever heard of one, Nick? So as sitting here, we're just starting to get our first real whiffs of this Impala as she's opening it up that much more. To drop out from time to time. So it'll give us if that happens. Hopefully it's just buffering. Saying a better cheetah can kill a baby buffalo. So I'm assuming by baby buffalo you mean a really newborn calf. When we had the drought here in 2016, that actually did happen. A pair of cheetah brothers managed to kill an orphan buffalo calf here. But it's normally they wouldn't even get the opportunity because the rest of the herd would be very aggressively defending that calf. But because it had been orphaned, it was quite vulnerable. But that little buffalo calf was much smaller than this Impala was, so something the cheetah were quite capable of catching. Colin Pierre asking, do leopards digest fast? So yes, they do. A lot of the animals have a much higher metabolism than we do. But yeah, she'll digest or can eat that whole Impala, digest it and turn it into muscle, where we would be turning that into a spare tire around our gut if we were to eat the whole thing. Earth Angel saying that Impala looks skinny now. So
It's called the 2-hour diet.
yeah, having the most effective liposuction ever.
Yeah.
And 4X Gold just commenting how bright it seems on the camera. But yeah, fortunately Gareth has a very good camera, well, on his phone anyway, it makes it seem a lot brighter than it really is. But the sun has set a while ago now, and the temperature is dropping very rapidly now. But I think it's going to get dark quite soon, because we actually go into the shadow of the Drakensberg Mountains here. So it'll probably be dark in the next sort of 15 minutes. Welcome back to Super Bikes.
Probably the biggest adrenaline rush I've ever had at a sighting was when the coalition of lions, some of you may know as the Mapochos, we knew as the Mlawati male lions, 5 big male lions, I think 6 to start with, but they tried to take over the Styx Pride probably about 11 or 12 years ago now. And yeah, it was 3 lionesses of the Styx Pride stayed behind and fought these 5 big male lions, whilst the other 4 lions took the cubs off of the property. And it was, yeah, just lions doing flick-flacks everywhere and just boxing all around the vehicle. It was quite intense for me.
For you, Nick?
Oh, here in MalaMala, I think one of the most intense sightings is watching the Maxim's male leopard climb up a tree and kill a baboon. It was absolute pandemonium from the baboon side, but the agility that male leopard showed in the trees was just unbelievable.
I think for me, if you go onto the Kruger Sightings channel and look up Lions Catch Buffalo Amazing Ending, for me that's probably one of my more spectacular sightings that I've had. But yeah, just look up Lions Catch Buffalo Amazing Ending. Obviously watch to that amazing ending, and you'll see what I mean. It was pretty spectacular. It's an interesting question. What is your favorite predator but not from Africa?
Never left Africa.
Yeah. For me, I want to say I'd love to see my bucket list thing to do is to watch the bears catching salmon in Alaska. So I'm going to put grizzly bear on my list, but purely because I want to see them, because I also love catching fish.
I think I'd a jaguar, actually.
Yes, that's actually.
Yeah, I don't know. Potentially tigers in India.
Oh, tiger's a good one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of goodies out there. Didn't you? What was that leopard that you had
The snow leopard.
altercation? So was a snow leopard or a clouded leopard?
Yeah, I had a clouded leopard that was supposed to be unconscious wake up while I was holding it, and caused my heart to flutter a little bit. Luckily, it wasn't too big. Hey, have you guys ever visited the Pantanal? So that's where Gareth is going to have to go to see the jaguars. I'd love to. We've been joking that hope once the isolation lifts, we can go and travel to more places and do the ranges abroad, perhaps. Can live stream grizzly bears and jaguars, and there's a lot on board for that. And Heidi Marie saying a snow leopard in the Himalayas. So one of our rangers, Daniel Bailey, actually just won a competition to go and, a photographic competition, and he won a free trip to go and see the snow leopards in Nepal. And we are all extremely, extremely jealous because that's also must be spectacular. So it'll be quite interesting to see if she is going to move this carcass at all. It's a lot lighter now than when she started. Also, if she wants to take the stomach contents out, because she won't really want to lift that into a tree if she can help it. Nadav just commenting, wow, what a prize for Dan. But Nadav, maybe you must speak to Dan and ask him if he can do a live stream from Nepal for you if he ever does see a snow leopard. Colin Pierre asking, are leopards the best swimmers out of all the big cats? I don't think so. I'd say of the big cats that we get here, the lion, leopard, and cheetah, I have seen leopards swimming a little bit more. Though I've also seen lions sleeping in the river. Again, that was another interesting sighting I had. If you look up Lions Beach Day on this channel, you'll see my video of the lions all sleeping in the water. But I think fishing cats are probably going to be the best swimmers, but you only get them in Southeast Asia. But yeah, they'd be more likely to swim. And Andrew Milliken saying it's looking kind of gross there with the getting into the carcass. But yeah, so this impala has been there some time now. But she is I think that little liver that Gareth, maybe you can answer that question.
Which one?
How close are we to the leopard?
I'd say maybe 6 or 7 meters away.
How does it smell though? So actually, no, it's not too bad. The small breeze is wafting away from us, but every now and then it circles around. And then we're quite aware that Impala died a while ago. Colin P asking, was Impala alone or when it was killed or in a group? So this is a female Impala, so my guess is it would have been part of a herd. But we are in the ratting season at the moment, so the male Impala are chasing all the females around and that. So what might have happened is one of the males tearing around, running after this female might have chased her right into a thicket where the leopard happened to be sleeping. But leopards are just so alert and such switched on animals that she would have seen it as a golden opportunity and maybe just snag the Impala as she came running past. Where the kill happened was around a small little waterhole, so it's also possible the leopard was just lying in wait at the waterhole for a victim. Brian Gilman pointing out jaguars are strong swimmers and hunt the caiman in the Amazon. So yeah, I suppose of the big cats, the jaguars then are definitely going to be the best swimmers. Certainly if they're hunting regularly, and some pretty spectacular videos of them hunting caiman and capybara. Maria asking, are rangers allowed to wear fragrances or does this affect the animals? So we insist that the rangers wear some sort of fragrance, otherwise their fragrance offends the other rangers. But yeah, we try not to interfere with the animals, but I don't think they really care too much what we smell like. We're not really a concern for them, but very interestingly, and it does sound like a joke, but apparently leopards really like one of the Calvin Klein fragrances. I can't remember offhand which one, but the Cape Leopard Project were, I believe, putting some of that fragrance onto their traps when they were catching the leopards to collar them for research. For whatever reason, the leopards really loved that Calvin Klein fragrance and would actually often come up to check. And then one of my more interesting days here, I actually put some Calvin Klein on a cotton swab and left it in a road that a leopard was walking down to see if she would, or he would react in any way. And sadly, he didn't. So I'm not sure if it's an urban legend or not, or bush legend or not.
Maybe someone was stocking up on Calvin Klein there. That's a
And Star Patrica asking, what if the impala plays dead like the wild dog in the lioness's mouth? So Nadav can maybe for anyone else to watch, but I'm actually not sure. Maybe just been knocked silly when that lion grabbed it. But part of the reason these cats have whiskers is to help them navigate in the dark, but it also helps with placing their bites on the throats of these animals. And then they can also, with those whiskers, detect things like the heartbeat and that, because when she's grabbed that impala, it's obviously struggling and kicking and that, but it will pass out and faint away before it actually dies. So she needs to know the difference between when it's died as opposed to passed out, and a lot of that information is going to be passed on through her whiskers, like feeling that pulse and that movement. So playing dead isn't really going to help an impala. Interestingly, with the cheetah, it's something they seem to struggle with a little bit more, but it's not unusual for the young cheetah to catch something, have it pass out, and then not realize. You can see she's pulled out a whole roll of what looks like, with this light going, how well you'll be able to see that.
Yeah, it does.
You can see a little bit of the... Now we can smell it, folks.
Yeah, folks, the light is deteriorating very quickly. It's starting to appear very grainy. It is much brighter on the screen than it is here. For a little while longer.
And thank you, Bond James Bond. Spying Dutchman, in answer to your question, they hunt us. Lawrence Jr. says, hello, Gareth.
How are you, Lawrence?
And Lawrence, I had a look at your montage. It was great. Like I say, I especially like that.
Lawrence, you're a little bit late. Right, folks, I think we are going to call it an evening. Just want to thank you all again for joining us this evening. Stay tuned or keep an eye out on our YouTube channel. Find her and see what remains here. And but I think we're going to call it a night for now.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, folks. I'm very glad that found a signal so we could show you this, even though we were out on the edge of its range.
And then just to show you the faces behind the voices, says Mike.
Good evening, folks, and goodbye. Thank you for joining us.
And Nick.
Enjoy, everyone. Stay safe.
And then from myself, Gareth, stay safe, and we look forward to our next stream. Cheers.